Ladies and gents, welcome back. We're going to get straight to work. We got like 45 minutes to look to see what we can do to put more into practice. And look, everyone's coming in. And what that means is we have a room full of rule followers. Right, that's what that clearly means, right? We have a room full of rule followers. And if we're going to make the most of the next 45 minutes, as I figured that if I give you some rules, you can play by the rules. Sound fair? Rules are simple. As if I ask a question, damn, I love an answer. That way, you're going to come with me, and I have this little magic microphone here in my pocket, so on occasion, I'm going to come to some of you folks to contribute. Also, if I invite you to participate, the goal is not to get it right. Right? I think sometimes we come to training room environments and everybody wants to be perfect. In a training room environment, this is our chance to get messy. Everything has to be messy before it's beautiful. Everything has to be messy before it's beautiful, and never do you find yourself in an interaction with a client or a colleague where they say, hey, if you just backed up a little or restructured some of that language, said it to me differently, I'd have done it. You don't get those feedback moments when you're working with others, correct? As you find ourselves in a situation, it either goes well or it doesn't go well, and we often don't know why. We don't get the post-game analysis the same way. So if I give anybody a microphone and then I pick on that person, I'm not picking on that person. I'm picking on every person in the room at the exact same time. That person just happens to be the vehicle for that moment. Sound fair? So play along, have fun. We're going to roll our sleeves up and view this more like the acoustic set. If that was the rock concert, now we're going to get to work because it's a workshop. Clue's in the title, right? But it's a pretty big workshop. Yet we are going to try to make this something practical, something you can use, something you can put into practice. I landed the plane by sharing these 4 cornerstones of conversational excellence. Didn't spend anywhere near enough time explaining them to make them practical. We're almost going to go slow through these here so that you have some more thoughtful thought and intention around what you can do back in your role to make you more influential and persuasive where it matters. I joked from stage that the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say is in the moment you're saying it. It wasn't a joke. It was deadly serious. There's one word in that statement that is worthy of the most attention. I have no idea what it is, but when you capitalize and bold something, sometimes it can help people know where to focus. Any idea which word it might be? Moment. See, in my work, people think that they're trying to master word choices. You're not. You're trying to master moments. How many moments are there in your workday that matter? Too many to count. You could count, and I believe that actually you do have the power to count to the number of moments that are being talked about. But do you ever come to sessions like this and think WTF? Which definitely means where to focus. There are often too many moments to focus on, right? That's what James is appearing to me here, is too many moments. What if we can narrow in the moments to the ones that carry the more weight so we can grow our competence in that given environment? See, a professional in any area of life is not trying to get better at everything. Let's see a Formula One racer being like, I'm going to try really hard today. They're aware of the part of their race that requires attention, that if they can level up in that area of their race, it'd be the difference between ninth and being on the podium. If anybody here plays the game of golf, you're not going to give it your all today. You're aware that actually, short game, 60 yards from the pin, that you're nowhere near as good as you need to be in order to be able to influence the outcome you're looking for. If you can go down in 2 more often when you're 60 yards out, the difference that'll make on your score is more significant than any other part of your game. Oh, part of your game you're focused on is every time you're off the tee, you're missing the fairway. If you can land on the fairway, carry your distance more often than not, that'll save you a shot most holes. You're not trying to get better generally, you're trying to get better specifically. So when you're thinking about trying to master the moments, there are 3 groups of moments that I believe are worthy of more attention than anything else. And the first group of moments are what I call critical conversations. What is a critical conversation? A critical conversation is a moment inside a moment where your success or failure inside that moment alone has an over-indexing impact upon the overall success you're looking to achieve. Got it? No, I know you don't. It's a moment inside a moment where your success or failure inside that moment has an over-indexing impact upon the overall success you're looking to achieve. Got it? Still no. See, research tells us you have to hear something 25 times before you hear it for the first time. I share that on purpose because how many times have we said, I told you this, and wonder why people not got it? You have to share something 25 times before somebody hears it for the first time. Not before they get it, before they hear it for the first time. So if you find yourself repeating yourself, that's probably a good thing. Giving people more chance to get it. Let's go slow. A critical conversation is a moment inside a moment where your success or failure inside that moment has an over-indexing impact upon the overall success you're looking to achieve. Still not got it, have you? Let me reframe it a different way. Have you ever had an appliance in your house that was broken, so you disposed of it? Washing machine, dishwasher, iron, hair dryer, I don't know what it was. Something in your house was broken, so you said, done with that, let me get a new one. Was the appliance broken? Or was a component inside the appliance broken? The component was broken. We decided to throw the whole thing away. This is the challenge we have inside the conversational moments that exist inside our daily interactions, is we focus on the big thing, but there are actually components inside that bigger thing that our success or failure in that single component has an over-indexing impact upon what you're trying to achieve. Once you can isolate the moments, your influence starts to be able to go up. So with that frame, let's just pass this microphone a second, and thanks for volunteering to go first, Luke, Just spit at me some moments that matter, that you would class as critical conversations in your role. And when you're done, get rid of the mic to someone else, and then they'll go. And then when they're done, they're going to get rid of the mic to someone else. Let's see if we can crowdsource some moments that we believe that matter inside our daily interactions. Kick us off.
I'd say in conversations with clients, trying to emphasize our value and where we're able to contribute to what they're trying to achieve as an organization.
Okay. Easiest way you stop talking is to give the mic to someone else.
One-to-one conversations.
Okay.
Selling ourselves to our customers.
Okay.
Talking to my team about Salesforce transformation.
Talking to the team about Salesforce transformation. Let's not make it everybody over here. Let's just kind of just drop it right down with somebody who avoids eye contact.
Conversations about performance.
Okay. Conversations about performance. What else?
Overcoming objections.
Overcoming objections. Okay. Keep it moving.
Understanding the importance of product knowledge.
Understanding the importance of product knowledge. Keep rolling.
Morning meetings when we have like 5 minutes to discuss what's going to happen on the day.
Hyper-focused morning meetings where we have 5 minutes to be able to gain clarity around the action and anticipation of what's happening in that day. Huge.
Explaining how to do something.
Okay. Explaining how to do something.
Like training.
Like what, sorry?
Training.
Training moments. Okay. Let's get one more.
Talking about public policy and the impact of the organization without talking about politics.
Let me take this back for a second so we don't get too far lost. Is almost everything that was shared, was that a moment or was it an outcome? Many were desired outcomes from conversations, not moments. And this is the miss that many of us have as leaders, is we are hyper clear of the desired outcome that we're looking to try and achieve, but we haven't identified the moment in our daily routine that we're most likely to influence that. I believe that every leader should always be focused on 3 critical conversations. One in their personal life, one as a leader, and one that's going to have a commercial impact in their role, so one that's going to generate money. So you've got a money-focused moment, you've got a leadership-focused moment, and you've got a personal moment. And I'm going to help you understand the specificity that I'd invite you to give consideration to moments. I'll share with you a personal critical conversation that shows up in my world. I travel a lot. At home is my wife and our beautiful twin daughters. I have 6-year-old twins at home. And that means that when I'm home, life looks very different than when I'm away. So that means my life changes significantly between those two different moments. What is the most critical conversation that I focus on in my personal life? It is what comes out of my mouth in the first 15 seconds when I re-enter the home following a trip. Can you understand the level of specificity in that? What happens if I get that moment wrong? What are my chances of a good evening? Good weekend? Good marriage, good life? See, the compound effect of me mistreating that moment on repeat could have sabotaging impacts in my personal life, correct? So just adding some intention to say, stop, hang on, how am I showing up for this 15-second window, could also have a compounding positive effect of what happens inside my personal life. I'll make it clear from a leadership point of view, and we'll take your example here because it's powerful, is I was working with a group of leaders in the financial services industry, and they did a similar thing to what you did here. I asked them for moments, and what they gave me was a barrage of different outcomes they're trying to achieve. What I said to them is, out of all of those outcomes, which one would be the biggest differentiator towards you achieving or not achieving your goals? Because what they said is they said things like, well, there are so many moments. There are, that, you know, we're looking to be able to create engagement, improve culture, drive productivity, blah, 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 blah. Like, out of which one of those is going to make the biggest impact? And they said daily productivity of our people. Like, if we can achieve the outcome of amplifying daily productivity of our people, every other problem that we're trying to solve is less of a problem. Like, got it. I said, well, where are the moments that you influence daily productivity? They said, Phil, I can't do it. There's too many. There's the Slack channel, there's the WhatsApp group, there's these Salesforce interactions, then there's our weekly call, our monthly structured call, then there's our get-togethers, there's our one-on-ones, there's our hallway interactions, there's our huddles. I'm like, got it. I know all of that is noisy. Out of all of those moments, which one is most likely to influence daily productivity of your people? They all looked at each other and they said the huddle. They all collectively said the huddle. I said, so answer me this, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being Sundays, most people show up, and it's 10 being the greatest huddle in the world, how would you currently rate your huddle? They went like a 4, 5, or 6. I said, so let me get this right. Daily productivity is the one thing you're looking to influence more than anything else in your organization. The morning huddle is the moment that you're most likely to impact daily productivity, and you're currently running 5 out of 10 huddles. Why would you care about anything else? It doesn't mean don't care about anything else. It's where do you turn the attention up to 11 and say, I'm going to move from 5 out of 10 huddles to 9 out of 10 huddles, and then we're going to move on. See the difference? If you can isolate the moment inside your interactions that's most likely to achieve the outcome, your chance of achieving the outcome are higher. Instead, we try to get marginally better at everything, and we don't create the gains that we're looking for. Like, I want to have a good marriage, a good life, and great interactions with my children. But if I fail to isolate that moment as being a catalyst for positive or negative, I'm trying to get better everywhere. That's exhausting. You can be the same everywhere else if you can isolate moments. One in your personal life, one as a leader, and one that's going to put money in your pocket. I see it happen in sales presentations everywhere through organizations. They're like, we need to get better with our pitch decks. I'm like, no, you don't. They're like, we need to get better at overcoming objections. I'm like, no, you don't. You might need to just get ahead of it, and there's a point that an objection is presented because you create it inside your presentation. And if you could isolate that moment ahead of time, chances are you could pre-frame that objection being an issue before it even becomes a problem. This is nothing more than us zooming out and saying, can we actually find the cog in the machine that's broken, as opposed to trying to create a better machine? Helpful? If you lead a group full of people, and outside of everything else that you do with them right now is you help them isolate their 3 critical conversations, how much better could you lead them? If you knew that in their personal life, something that was keeping them up at night was this, and as a leader, what they were looking for your help with is this, and the moment of impact that generates revenue inside the organization that has the biggest impact is this, and you could coach them, train them, lead them around those critical conversations, would you move the business forward quicker? So you don't need any more skills once you've identified moments. Critical conversations is the first area to identify. The second is known objections. What are some of the objections that you know you're going to face inside your role?
That's not a good fit for our organization.
Okay, what else? You can answer or you can give it to someone else.
Not enough time.
Don't have the time, okay?
Yeah, we're too busy or it's too much of an impact at one time.
Okay, creating too much chaos, don't have the bandwidth.
We've always done it that way.
Okay, so resistance to change.
There's more important things or better ways that we could be doing it.
Not the right priority at this time, yep.
I always hear it's we're too busy.
Okay.
Somebody else needs me to do a different project.
Yeah, I'm hyper-focused over here instead.
That's not my job.
I just don't want to.
They don't say that, just their body language just admits that, right? Or lack of response is like, eh.
Cost too much.
So there's price in there as well. And you know, there are no wrong answers here. What I'm showcasing, though, is that most of us know the points of friction that could stop us from achieving the outcomes that we're looking for. We're somewhat aware of what they might say that slows us down. We know what their lines might be. When is the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say? In the moment you're saying it. Yet how often do you get an objection come your way and you're like, I didn't see it coming? Shouldn't we have seen it coming? In martial arts, what they teach is that the best block is not a block, it is to move. If you don't get hit, you don't get hurt. How many times do people throw excuses at us, throw jabs at us as to why things can't be done, and we think our job is to take it and then throw a better punch back? That's where conflict happens. Most objections are avoidable. Has anybody seen the movie 8 Mile with Eminem? If you're unfamiliar, there's a famous rap battle scene in that movie where the Eminem character is deeply concerned he's going to get trash talked by the other dude, Papa Duck. He's concerned that what's going to happen is that Papa Duck is going to share information about who his mum spent time with over the weekend. He is deeply concerned that there are some insights about his girlfriend's whereabouts that could make him look less than. And he's worried about his former housing scenario and concerned about his lack of education, correct? Like, these are deep worries that he has. And what does the Eminem character do in that scenario? He puts it right out there up front. He puts it right out there up front, leaving the Papa Duck character lost for words, creates mic drop moment, wins the rap battle. You are not in the business of winning rap battles. But you are in the business of controlling narratives. You are in the business of helping people understand the obstacle that could be in the way. Which means that if an elephant is likely to appear in the room, who should be the one that puts it in the room? See, if you put the elephant in the room, you can describe the elephant. You can dress the elephant. You can color the elephant. You can explain how fierce this elephant is. Geez, if you wish to, you could ride the elephant. If you're brave enough to be able to put the obstacle out there up front, because you're demonstrating empathy and saying, I understand that you're too busy right now and that you've got priorities that are having you stretching from here, 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 and here. Anybody ever heard the importance of an elevator pitch? Perhaps you've been on a training at some point in your life that you spent half a day mastering your elevator pitch. You were so proud of it in the training session, right? It was like you got this nailed, you role played back and forth, you like crushed it. I've got my elevator pitch down. And then how many times since said training have you utilized said elevator pitch? And maybe it's because there aren't many tall buildings where you live and you typically take the stairs. That could be a reason. Or it could be because it just isn't natural in conversation to be able to show up and throw up in that way. It doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel like it's real. I tell you what does feel real, though. An elevator rant. Could you think of some of the things that really get under your skin? Some of the things that frustrate you about why change can't happen? Could you think about some of the obstacles that stand in your way and some of the way that other people behave that prevent them from being able to achieve the outcomes that you're looking for? And instead of trying to pitch at somebody as to why they should behave a certain way, you get mad about the fact that other people don't behave the way they need to create the change you're looking for. See, in this role, one of the things that frustrates me is so many people are just pretending they don't have time, when what they really are is they're stuck in their ways of doing things the way they've always done things. And as us as an organization that's going through change, it's important that we all change as leaders. Everybody in the organization is prepared to be able to make changes. Because the last thing that we want is a business that was fit for yesterday when we're trying to get ready for tomorrow. Wouldn't you agree? Like, try and tell me that the way we used to do things is the right way of doing things if you get ahead of it. If you've got the emotional intelligence to understand the excuse or reason as to why somebody might say they can't do something, you put it out there up front, give them a fine reputation to live up to, it's pretty hard for them to agree that they are now going to be the person that we just agreed that they didn't want to be. This is what I mean by known objections. You know the friction, we then find ourselves there, and then we're navigating their excuse, get ahead of the excuse. And now the friction doesn't slow you down. This making sense? If what you can do is get ahead of your known objections, focus on your 3 critical conversations and do one more thing, you're a huge leap towards mastering moments at a level that is beyond every other leader on the planet. And the third area is this idea of later today. Who has a conversation on their schedule later today? Someone? A conversation you know you're going to have later today. Who's got one? Many of us, it might even be a FaceTime with our kids or our spouse, etc. It's like we know we're having this conversation and we put it on our schedule. We know we're having a conversation later today, but you also know that you are entirely unprepared for. First time you think about what it is you're going to say is like ring, 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 ring. They pick up. You're like, hi, love. Hey, how was your day? Pretty good. How about you? Yeah, pretty good. What'd you get up to? Just not much. I mean, I just worked with 800 people in the ballroom. How about you? Well, the cleaner showed up and, all right, love you, bye. Is that making the most of a moment? But we do the same with our teammates. We schedule 30 minutes for a one-on-one to catch up, but we didn't put enough thoughtful thought ahead of it to being able to make the most of those 30 minutes until we got there. And people say they don't have the time to be ready for known moments they put on their schedule. You do. You spend the time regardless. You just get to decide whether you spend the time before the event or after the event. You're almost always going to spend the time. And once you start to build a habit about later today, and in the morning with your coffee, you're like, what have I got on later today? And you take a few minutes of thoughtful thought to say, am I ready for that? What are the outcomes I'm looking to achieve? What are all the outcomes am I looking to achieve? What do I want to avoid? What might that person be thinking that I'm not thinking that they're thinking so I can make sure I'm ready for it? You put a tiny piece of work in ahead of time, you're at pro level when you show up. Instead, we get there and be like, how's your day? And like, yeah, pretty busy. How about you? Yeah, pretty busy too. How you doing? I mean, I'm stressed, I'm overloaded. I mean, I've got too many things on. But anyway, here I am with you right now, and I'm not fully present. Should we make the most of this? What difference does it make if we reset the clock and put 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it takes to be ready for the known moments? How much better of a leader are you? You don't need any more skills. You're just more prepared. If you can isolate 3 critical conversations, get ready for your known objections, and build a habit around later today, you will be better in every conversation you step into. But we think that what we need is the ability to wing it, or we think that what we need is the ability to be able to have the gift of the gab or have the right words in the moment. It's not. It's to get ready for the known moments. And if any of you are unaware, I gave a speech earlier on today that I've given more than twice in my life. But I was in here at 7 a.m. this morning working out how to utilize that stage as a prop, making decisions of how I'm going to interact within this audience, giving consideration to who you are as an organization, did multiple focus groups with this as a group full of people. How much of my presentation did it change? About this much, which is often the difference between something sticking and something feeling like it was the same as what would be given anywhere. Is that true in your roles too? Because what do people want to feel when they interact with you? Seen. They want to feel seen. So do the work before the work ahead of time. Can you see why that's not a joke? It's actually quite a big idea if we want to be able to make more of it, because it's the one part of leadership we can control, is everything we do ahead of the moment to be more prepared for the moment. And I said earlier on in my speech that if you slow the process down, you speed the outcome up. And in a world that's running faster and faster and faster, sometimes our responsibility is slow it down. And I shared that lesson with a group of people that I got a privilege to work with last year, and it was our US Marines. Never thought I'd be in a session training US Marines to do anything. But when I shared this idea that if you slow the process down, you speed the outcome up when communicating with each other, they told me, like, we got it, Phil. Because what we're trained earlier on in our induction is when going into a hostile environment, our Marines have a mantra that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Right? That's how what they can do is navigate high-risk conflict scenarios with a level of calm and poise and precision in the moments that matter. We find ourselves in the same type of environments that are demonstrably different. Slower is smoother and smoother is faster when we're trying to be able to get people through a change. Instead, we try and rush people through change. Curiosity is a superpower, straight up superpower. And in a world that wants to know the answer, we rush to be able to give advice all the time. Can anybody think about a moment in their life where a lack of curiosity has been costly to them? And if you're holding a microphone right now, that anybody that could think of a moment, that person is you, unless you get the mic to somebody else. Pretty sure it's over here somewhere. Lack of curiosity has been expensive. Where did you jump to a conclusion in your world too quickly? Where the result is that you made an assumption that was wrong. The reality is we all have one, where you've jumped to advice monster too quickly. Where is there a point in time that you delivered exceptional advice to the wrong problem? Where is there a point that you believed that you knew the answer only to find out that the answer you gave was wrong?
You made too many assumptions.
So when was the last time that you can remember this showing up in your world, or when was a historic moment that you'd be prepared to casually share with 800 of your coworkers?
Happens often. For me, it could be like on a TO, right? So we go to a customer, we assume they're not saying yes because of X. I come out prepared to overcome an objection that they never had.
Yeah. The real reason is different to what you thought the reason was. And I do a lot of work inside the real estate industry. And everybody that is a real estate agent thinks that people are looking to sell their house for the most money and in the shortest period of time when they're trying to win a listing. Is that always true? It actually is almost always not true. There is an ideal period of time that you'd still be living here, and then there's probably an ideal day that you could move out that would suit your life circumstances, and there probably is actually a price you'd accept that's less than the perfect price if the convenience hassle factor to it was less than the reality. And there are actually 1,000 nuances that could line this up to be the perfect time, but every real estate agent assumes that you want to sell it for the most money in the shortest period of time. What would be the easiest way to stand out in that profession? Is to try and find out what timeline would be ideal for you as a homeowner, and also what kind of constraints you'd be happy to accept that would impact the price. Because for many of us, the thought of having multiple showings and thousands of people traipsing through your house and having it staged, etc., whilst you still need to live in it with your kids and your family is a disaster. And you'd accept making 10 grand less without having that hassle if somebody could make it happen more discreetly. See, we think we know answers for people, and rarely do we. And the lesson here is to note where we build rapport. Where do we think we build rapport? We make small talk with people around hobbies and interests and look to be able to try and find common ground. Is that something you've been trained before? So you walk into somebody's office and you see a Jets jersey and you say, well, did you watch the game the weekend? And they say, I'm actually in my colleague's office. I'm a Rangers fan. Because we jump to conclusions, right? We think that somebody is interested in something they're not. I get it in my life all the time. People are like, what soccer team do you support? I spent 2 years of my life working in professional soccer on the commercial side, and I hated it. I fell out of love with the game because of the fact of the way that the business was run internally inside the sport, and it made me lose something that I enjoyed. Do you think I want to give people that answer? No, but they assume because I'm British, I follow soccer and I've got a team. I don't. I actually have a true story that is about a change of relationship with a sport that I once used to love that I'm not going to share. But when somebody gives me a shallow question, I'm like, got it. You're being lazy with a question, so I'm going to be lazy with an answer. Does this show up in our world often? Do you know where rapport is safely built? if you're looking to build rapport with people so that you can get to a position of trust quickly, note that rapport is built in the past. I'm going to prove how badly we get this wrong, and we get some collective involvement, and we're going to change context to a scenario that's maybe more and less high stakes at the same time. Can you all imagine a 6-year-old child, 6-year-old child in your life that you care about, that is upset to a point that they are crying? Can you understand this scenario? They have tears running down their face. Now, given that this is a 6-year-old you care about that's crying, what do you think most adults would say to a 6-year-old child that is upset with a desire to help? What do they say? What's wrong? You're going to have an epiphany shortly. And let's contextualize this scenario. 6-year-old child is crying, which means that they are viscerally showing to you that they cannot control their central nervous system. They are struggling to process data and feelings that are happening inside their body. The mature, responsible adult in their life comes up to them and says, "What's wrong?" Their entire body, already in fight or flight, says, "I don't know!" Does it help or hinder the scenario? It makes it worse. Because what we're jumping to is we're trying to solve. When you say what's wrong, you're trying to have the other person give you the answer to the question. They don't know the answer to the question. So when you ask them to self-diagnose in a situation of fight or flight, you add panic to panic, yet you're supposed to be the mature, responsible one. Other people say things like, "How can I help?" Well, how helpful is that? Ever been in a situation where you've been struggling with grief? Maybe you've lost somebody you care about, and somebody says, "If there's anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to ask." And you're like, "Got it. I'm hurting, overwhelmed, and now I need to think for you so that you can figure out what help looks like, so you can offer something back to me so you could feel better about yourself." If you know what help looks like, be helpful. And if you don't know what help looks like, find out what help looks like before you offer to help in every given scenario of life. But we got this child that is struggling, and other people say things like, "Come here, let me give you a hug." Is that helpful? Maybe. But it's jumping straight to solve mode. This is the miss. I'm staying in this awkward scenario on purpose for a period of time because I want you to see how quickly it changes when you realize that rapport is built in the past. What could we say to the 6-year-old child that would help us find the answer to how we can help? To find the answer to what's wrong? To find the answer to do you need a hug? What could we ask? Say it louder for me. What happened? You ask the 6-year-old child what happened, historic-based question, they go, "I know this one." And when the 6-year-old unpacks what happened, and you don't lose your shit around them, they realize that this is not so much of a big deal. Their nervous system starts to be able to regulate. You understand what's wrong. You learn how you can help. You can lead the change that happens from there. How often do we go into change-making scenarios looking to build rapport and create understanding based on present and future? So what are you doing right now? Where does you want to go? What changes are you looking to be able to see in the world? How much more learned do we get if we ask questions that are historic-facing past that bring us up to present? So always be prepared to ask curious questions first. People bring you, like, "What do you think I should do, Will?" So what would we do? We'd say, "What have you tried already?" And they bring us up to speed. We learn the context of their past scenario. Go backwards before you move forwards. And to try and help you get this point even louder, could we help solve one of the most complex conversations in the world together before lunch? This will save marriages, lives, murders. There's a conversation that happens somewhere between 5 and 8 p.m. in most households, most evenings. Can often become quite a heated conversation. Any idea what conversation I may perhaps possibly be talking about? What's for dinner? The worst time to think about the thing you're going to say is in the moment you're saying it. We know this question is coming. We're either the one that's going to ask it or someone's going to ask it of us. There's a nervous tightrope dance that operates in most households as who's going to break first. And what happens is you're brave enough to lean in and you say, well, what do you want for dinner, love? And they say, I don't know. What do you want? You say, I don't know either. You pick. They say, I picked last time. You pick. You say, okay, we're having Chinese food. They say, I don't want Chinese food. What's wrong with you? We had that last week. You say, okay, well, you choose. No, I said that you're to choose. Is this true? And what happens is like 9 hours of your life go by and you go to bed hungry and find yourself eating a protein bar in the middle of the night because you're starving. What happens if you approach the conversation looking at past-based questions first? They say, what do you want for dinner? You say, what do you have for lunch? They say, I know this one. And they tell you. You say, how hungry are you? They say, I know this one too. This is easy. You say, what's in the fridge? And they say, nothing. But we still need to eat tonight, right? And you say, yeah, of course. I say, how are you feeling? You want to eat in or you want to head out? I mean, look at me. I'm in my sweats. I want to stay in. Okay. So I guess we're ordering. Is there anything you're opposed to? No, nothing I'm opposed to. Hey, if I was to order Chinese food and order what we normally order, is there anything you'd like to add? No, nothing. All right, I got you. Different? And I'm trying to prove that if we slow the process down, we speed the outcome up. And the questions have to start in the past to get to the present and then gateway for the future. But we're so fast running to be able to try and tell them why tomorrow is better if they, why don't we? Advice monster shows up and the advice monster wants to win fights. But the other person didn't want to even be in a fight. And the simple reality to this is to stop shoulding all over people. I think you should. I think we should. What should we get is remove shoulds from your life. And if curiosity is the fuel to great conversation, here's another big piece of advice, is to stop giving advice. Here's another counterintuitive piece of advice, is to never, ever, 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 ever speak in absolutes. A little ironic, perhaps. But look what happens when somebody says, like, what was your top takeaway from the conference? You're like, I don't know. I mean, what's your favorite thing to eat? What's your number one place to visit? What do you love most about Holman? These are hard questions to answer, aren't they? If you can add ambiguity to your questions, and instead of saying, what is one thing you're going to do differently, you could say, hey, what is something you picked up from our time together today that you might use that you could put into practice that perhaps is going to make a difference inside your life? I find you one thing. Instead of saying, what is your favorite place to eat? If I said, if you were maybe celebrating something locally in your neighborhood and you were looking to get a group of people together, where might you pick as a restaurant that could host an event like that? You tell me your favorite place to eat. Instead of saying what's your favorite place to visit, if I said where's somewhere you've been in the past that you find yourself reminiscing about, telling stories about, or perhaps even want to go back to someday, I find out your favorite place to visit. Can you see how sometimes the question you want to ask is not the question you should ask to get you the answer you're looking for? And by being less precise in your question, you can get more precise answers. When you add precision, people think they need to get it right. When you shoot wide but with a frame, people come back narrow. So write questions that are easy to answer, but that means they're hard to write. Instead, what we do is we ask questions that are easy to ask that then become hard to answer, so people lie. I mean, what are your goals here at Holman? I mean, what are you hoping to achieve in all the time that you're here? It's hard, right? Instead, it's like, so how long have you been here? You're like, I know this one. And what are some of the things that you've achieved in the time that you've been in the role? You're like, I know this one too. Out of those, what are some of the highlights that you're perhaps particularly proud of? And how much longer do you see yourself in a role like the one you're in right now? And over that time period, what might be some of the things that perhaps possibly you're looking to achieve in your tenure to make the next decade as valuable as the last? I just found out your goals, but I didn't ask for them. Is this a big idea? Can you do this? Because what we're trying to remember is that people do things for their own reasons and not yours. In the medical industry, they say that prescription before diagnosis is malpractice. Could you imagine walking in to see the doctor? Doctor said, like, I'm glad you came. Pharma rep was here yesterday. Told me about these killer new pills. I'm going to get you a bottle. You're going to drop them a couple of pills a night. You're going to feel amazing. How would you feel about taking said pills? Todd's like, sure. Most of you got a few more questions back. What if by alternative the doctor sits you down, understands your symptoms, maybe then runs a test or two, and at that point recommends the same pills? What do you now do? Pretty much as you're told. Less pushback, less friction. If I'm going to make this idea simple, never, ever, 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 ever tell somebody what to do unless you can say these words first. And the words to say first are the words because of the fact that you said. Because of the fact that you said blank, blank, and blank, for those reasons, what I'd recommend is blank, blank, and blank. Because what we're looking to do is to earn the right to make recommendations, not push ideas. Earn the right to make recommendations, not push ideas. And if we can't put it into their best interests, then we're likely to hit friction and pushback. There's a big difference if I say to my wife, like, because of the fact that you said that you've been looking to spend more time with Georgia and it's been a year since you had some time to be able to get together, then for those reasons, why don't we drop down into the city and see if they're around to be able to join us for dinner? Then should we go to the city this weekend? See how it has a different level of weight if you can say because of the fact that you said first. That's easy in theory, it's difficult in practice. Why? Because you have to collect the blanks. How do you collect the blanks? You're strategically curious to collect a body of evidence with what needs to be true for it to be true for me to recommend the outcome that I'm looking for. So if there's something you want people to believe in a conversation, you have to collect that evidence from them and then give it back to them. Hey, honey, because of the fact that you said that you want to drop 20 pounds and that it's important to you to be having a beach body ready for the summer and that you want to be able to do so for this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason, for that reason, I won't be ordering Chinese food tonight. We'll do something different. This is demonstrating empathy and hitting a show me that you know me button inside of our conversations. But most of us are pushing our agenda and then trying to get people to come towards it. Show them how the ideas that we're looking for them to adopt are in line with something that's already important to them, and there'll be less friction. And when I land on this idea that the person asking the questions controls the conversation, it can actually quite simply run towards a daily practice. If you ask yourself these 4 questions every day, you'll build a more meaningful to-do list. These 4 very specific questions. Would you like to know 4 questions you could ask yourself every day that if you answered these questions, you will be hyper proactive to a level that's beyond what you are right now just by answering these questions? Would that be useful? The first question is, who are the people I need to be asking more questions of? And then write a list of real names. Who are the people? The second question, what are the conversations I need to be having that I'm not? Answer that one. Do you have performance gap conversations with people in your team that you know they're underperforming and they don't? Do you have conversations that are required to happen inside of key stakeholders that you're hoping they don't bring up, but you're kind of aware that you probably need to get ahead of this and you're hopeful every time you see their name hit their inbox that they're not mentioning about blank? Could you get ahead of it? So what are the questions, no, who are the people that you need to be asking more questions of? What are the conversations that you need to be having that you're not? This third one's big, is where do you have relationships that hold untapped opportunities? Because you've heard the old saying, it's not what you know, but who you know. But more importantly, it's what you do with who you know. Where do you have relationships right now that have untapped opportunities? Write those names down. And then finally, where have you already created opportunities that require you to show up and drive the next action? Because many of us are wishing, waiting, and praying for that next action to materialize, when really we just need to start a conversation and ask for it. And what happens is when you ask yourself those 4 questions daily, you bring high-impact conversations into focus. And outside of everything that was on your agenda, you find time to have more of the conversations that make the biggest impact in your life. And if you could write 4 or 5 names down to who are the people I need to be asking more questions of, and find the time to ask them. What are the conversations that I need to be having that I'm not? And then you get them scheduled and get ahead of it. And where do I have relationships that hold untapped opportunities? And shoot a text, recatalyze a relationship, put yourself into a situation where you're starting to reignite that flame. And where have you already created opportunities that require you to show up to drive what's next? Then chances are you'll put that ball back in play as well, and that ball's currently sat out there waiting. You do that daily, in addition to everything else you're doing daily, you'll become significantly more productive, not in just having more conversations. Because it's not about counting conversations, it's about making more of those conversations count. And then this last 45 minutes we've had together is if you picked up at least one thing that you can perhaps possibly put into practice that will allow you to add more intent, more purpose around choosing moments that matter. If you want to practice curiosity, give less advice. If you feel like you need to give advice, cross-reference your witness before you jump into advice monster mode. That means ask 3 to 4 more questions before you show up and throw up the answer. Even with your kids, when they say, what should I do? Say, what do you think you could do? And watch how it changes the dynamic. We're leading people to teach them how to think, not tell them what to do. Which means let's help them understand what a thinking framework looks like. And never forget that people do things for their reasons and not yours. If you can't put their reason into the advice, then it's an opinion, it's not advice. And opinions aren't that valuable. Advice is valuable when it is laced in their purpose. And practice asking questions with more skill and more poise. And decide it's a practice. Professionals practice. I repeat, professionals practice. Professionals practice. Professionals practice. Professionals don't practice on their prospects. They practice when they practice so they're ready for game day. Yet what amateurs do is they practice on game day. If we're looking to level up, I'd invite you to say, how do you get more ahead of everything that you know you're stepping into so that when you're on game day, you've got drills, you've got tools, you've got resources, so that just like Neo does at the end of the Matrix, that when people are throwing all the chaos at him, you can play like, I got this. I don't know how I got this, but I know I got this. And I know that we can get it to an outcome that's beneficial to all parties, which means that my final concluding comment before we play you out to a video and help you put some of the work into play that's going to allow you to create the change that you're looking for in the world is to note that the safest place to influence any conversation is neutral. And that means that if you can show up to a conversation without a pre-approved agenda or outcome, without believing that you know for sure how this is going to land, you can be more influenceable because you are open to influence yourself. Make sense? If you can show up thinking, I'm pretty sure I'm right, but I might be wrong, let me go and see if I can find out all the reasons I might be wrong, oh dang, no, I'm right, then you're more likely to achieve the outcomes than here's what I'm going to make you believe today. Is show up 97% sure, 98% sure, 68% sure. Show up enough sure of yourself that you're going to find out the gap, and what you'll do is you'll create more change. And that means even with your colleagues, when they ask you to do something, be prepared to ask questions back of them and find out if we can understand what it's really going to cost as an expense point of view.